She was supposed to be living the dream. A family farm. Social media success. Real followers who tuned in to watch her life unfold. But behind the sunny videos and the smiling photos, something was deeply wrong. Laura Wilson's story didn't end the way anyone expected. It ended in a tragedy that shocked everyone who thought they knew her. And the truth about what happened is far more complicated than anyone realized. In 2018, a young woman from Nebraska decided to start posting videos of farm life. Nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Her channel would explode. Millions of people would tune in to watch her. But this story isn't really about success. It's about something much darker hiding behind the camera. Laura Wilson grew up on a farm. Not just any farm. A family farm that had been passed down through 5 generations. Her father taught her everything. How to work the land. How to care for animals. How to respect the soil beneath your feet. It was more than a job. It was a legacy. It was a dream. In the beginning, farming was lonely. Laura would spend hours alone on the tractor, cutting hay or planting crops. The work was hard. The days were long. And there weren't many people around to share it with. Most young people her age were leaving farms behind, moving to the cities, looking for easier lives. But Laura loved it. She loved every single part of it. So one day, she decided to film herself. Just a simple video. Her tractor. Her fields. The beauty of rural life that nobody outside the farming world ever gets to see. She uploaded it. Posted it on social media. And something incredible happened. People connected with it. Not just farmers. Everyone. Millions of people started following her journey. Laura Family Farms wasn't just another content creator. She was different. She was real. People could feel the genuine passion she had for farming. She showed the beautiful sunrise over fields of corn. She showed the exhausting work. She showed what it really meant to be a farmer in modern America. Her followers grew. Thousands became hundreds of thousands. Then millions. But success isn't what this story is really about. Neither is the farm. This is a story about a heartbreaking loss that nobody saw coming. The thing about being a content creator is that you control the narrative. You decide what people see. You decide what story gets told. Laura's videos showed golden hours on the farm. Successful harvests. Smiling faces. The triumph of hard work paying off. Her followers loved her for it. They watched her build something extraordinary from nothing. They believed in her dream because she made it look so real. And it was real. But it wasn't the whole truth. Behind the camera, Laura was carrying something heavy. Something that didn't show up in the videos. Her father had passed away suddenly, just 7 days before she closed on the farm. 7 days. He had dreamed of owning this farm with her. They had talked about it constantly. About raising animals together. About building something as a family. And then he was gone. But Laura didn't give up. Instead of walking away, she decided to make their dream come true anyway. She closed on the farm. She started the channel. She threw herself into the work. And she did it all alone. No partner. No family. Just her and the animals and the endless cycle of farm work. From sunrise to sunset. Every single day. The farm was supposed to heal her. It was supposed to be her therapy. Her way of keeping her father's memory alive. But farming is brutal. It's not just about love and passion. It's about money. Equipment. Risk. Weather that you can't control. Markets that shift overnight. And when you're doing it by yourself, the pressure multiplies. Laura kept posting videos because the income helped. The sponsorships. The brand deals. The followers who became actual customers buying her farm products. It wasn't just content anymore. It was her survival. But the videos showed only the victory. They never showed the financial stress. The equipment breaking down. The sleepless nights wondering if she could keep going. People watched her and saw inspiration. They saw a young woman conquering the odds. Living the rural dream that so many people fantasize about, but never actually do. But Laura saw something different when she looked in the mirror. She saw exhaustion. She saw a woman carrying grief while pretending everything was fine. She saw the cracks forming in her foundation. And she kept smiling for the camera anyway. By 2022, Laura Family Farms had become a phenomenon. The channel had millions of subscribers. Major agricultural brands wanted to partner with her. Media outlets wanted to interview her. She was the face of modern farming. The young, independent woman who was single-handedly reviving the family farm tradition. Everyone wanted to know her secret. How did she do it? How did she manage everything alone? But behind the scenes, The pressure was mounting in ways that her followers couldn't see. Farm life is unpredictable. One bad season can destroy everything. A drought comes and your crops fail. Equipment breaks and costs thousands to fix. Animals get sick. Markets crash. And when you're operating on thin margins, when every dollar counts, there's no room for error. Laura was living on the edge of financial stability the entire time. The income from content creation helped, but it was never guaranteed. One algorithm change, one sponsorship ending, one viral competitor, and it could all fall apart. The physical toll was getting worse too. Farm work is relentless.
And the
There's no
financial
vacation
pressure.
days, no sick days, no time off. Animals need to be fed. Fields need to be managed. Equipment needs constant maintenance. Laura was working 18-hour days, some days longer. She was doing the job of 5 people because she couldn't afford to hire help. Her body was breaking down. Her mental health was struggling under the weight of it all. And then there were the personal relationships. Farming is isolating. Laura spent most of her time alone with the animals and the land. Friendships require time and energy. Family requires attention. But she had nothing left to give. The people closest to her saw a change. She wasn't the same person she had been. She was tired all the time. Stressed. Distant. Quick to frustration. The joy that used to shine through in her videos was becoming harder to find. Her followers kept asking for more content. More videos. More updates. More of Laura's story. They didn't realize they were asking her to perform while she was drowning. They didn't know that the smiling face in their screen was barely holding it together. They didn't understand that success and happiness aren't the same thing. They didn't see that Laura was sacrificing her own well-being for their entertainment. Some people close to her started expressing concern. Friends worried about her health. Family members suggested she slow down. Take a break. But Laura couldn't stop. She wouldn't stop. Because stopping meant admitting that the dream was becoming a nightmare. The first crack appeared quietly. It always does. A piece of equipment broke down at the worst possible time. In farming, there's never a convenient time for something to fail. But during harvest season? That's catastrophic. Equipment that should have lasted for years suddenly stops working. And a replacement costs tens of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars that Laura didn't have. This is the hidden reality of modern farming that nobody talks about. You're always one breakdown away from financial disaster. You can be profitable one year and bankrupt the next. The margins are razor thin. The risks are enormous. And when you're operating alone, there's no backup. No one to help split the costs. No one to share the burden. Laura started experiencing more equipment issues. Then more. It felt like the farm itself was working against her. She was constantly in crisis mode. Fix this problem. Deal with that emergency. Spend money she didn't have. Borrow from the bank. Hope that the next season pays off. But there was no time to breathe. No time to rest. No time to enjoy the success that she had built. And then there was a serious incident. A fire. Equipment caught fire during operations. Valuable machinery burned. The kind of loss that doesn't just hurt financially. It hurts emotionally. It feels like betrayal. Like the thing you've dedicated your life to is destroying you. The financial pressure intensified. Insurance claims. Disputes with companies. Trying to figure out how to keep the farm running with damaged equipment and depleted funds. Laura started making decisions out of desperation rather than strategy. She was in survival mode now. Around the same time, her marriage was deteriorating. Her husband Grant had always been in the background of her videos. A quiet presence. But the stress of farming was taking its toll on both of them. They were barely communicating. The relationship that was supposed to be a partnership felt like another burden. Another thing that was breaking. Laura kept posting videos, but something had shifted. The happiness was harder to find. The smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. Her followers started commenting about how tired she looked. How different she seemed. Some worried fans even reached out privately, asking if she was okay. But Laura couldn't admit that anything was wrong. Admitting it meant accepting that the dream was failing. She was trapped in a cycle. Keep working. Keep posting. Keep pretending. Because stopping meant losing everything she had built. Stopping meant proving that she couldn't do it. Stopping meant facing the fact that her father's dream, the dream she had sacrificed everything for, might be slipping away. And the pressure kept building. Like a storm that you can see coming but can't escape. By mid-2023, Laura was operating on fumes. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally. Spiritually, she hadn't had a day off in years. She hadn't slept a full night in months. She was managing a complex agricultural operation, dealing with equipment failures, struggling in her marriage, producing content for millions of people, and carrying the grief of her father's death. All alone, the physical symptoms started appearing. She was losing weight. Her hair was falling out. She developed constant headaches. Her body was literally breaking down under the stress. But she kept working. She kept filming. She kept smiling. Because that's what she thought she had to do. Then something shifted. It wasn't one catastrophic event. It was the accumulation of everything. She woke up one morning and realized she couldn't feel happy anymore. Not about the farm. Not about the content. Not about anything. The passion that had driven her for years was gone, replaced by a hollow exhaustion. She started opening up to people close to her, telling them how bad things really were, how much money she had lost, how desperate things had become, how she didn't know if the farm could survive, and more importantly, how she didn't know if she could survive. The people who loved her were alarmed. They could see what social media followers couldn't. That Laura was drowning. Her marriage finally reached its breaking point too. The stress and isolation had created a distance between her and Grant that was too wide to cross. They were living in the same house but existing in separate worlds. He was frustrated that she cared more about the farm than about him. She was frustrated that he didn't understand what she was trying to accomplish. Resentment built. Communication stopped. And eventually, they both had to face an uncomfortable truth. Their relationship couldn't survive the pressure that farming was putting on it. Around this same time, Laura made a decision that shocked her followers. She started being more honest about what was actually happening. She posted videos talking about her struggles, about the equipment failures, about the financial losses, about how hard this really was. It was a risk. She knew that some followers would lose interest if she stopped pretending everything was fine. But she also knew that she couldn't keep lying. The response was unexpected. Instead of judgment, she received an outpouring of support. People shared their own stories. Farmers who had struggled. People who had lost farms. People who understood what it meant to have a dream that was slowly destroying you. For the first time in a long time, Laura didn't feel completely alone. But knowing that people cared didn't fix the fundamental problem. She still had to decide. Keep fighting for a dream that was killing her, or let it go. The real tragedy unfolded across several terrible months in late 2023 and into 2024. It wasn't one thing. It was everything at once. The farm was hemorrhaging money. The equipment failures kept coming. She had lost hundreds of thousands of dollars that she could never recover. Insurance disputes left her without the coverage she desperately needed. And the financial institutions that had loaned her money were starting to ask uncomfortable questions about whether she could actually repay them. Her marriage finally ended. After years of strain, after countless arguments about the farm and the content and the money and the future, she and Grant separated. It was devastating on every level. Not just because a marriage was ending, but because it meant acknowledging that the life she had tried to build wasn't working. The partnership she thought would sustain her through difficult times had become another casualty of the pressure. But the deepest tragedy was something more subtle. Laura realized that she had been chasing a ghost. Her father's ghost. She had bought this farm to keep his memory alive, to make his dream real, to prove that his faith in her meant something. But in doing that, she had sacrificed her own health, her marriage, her peace of mind, and her future. And her father wasn't there to see it. He never would be. He was gone, and no amount of farming success would bring him back. She had built this beautiful image of farm life for millions of people to admire. But behind the image, she was broken. The farm that was supposed to heal her had wounded her instead. The content that was supposed to inspire people had become her prison. And the dream that she thought would define her legacy had almost destroyed her. The hardest part was admitting that she might have to give up, that the farm might have to be sold, that 5 generations of family farming history might end because one person couldn't carry the weight alone. That realization was crushing, but there was also something else underneath it, something like relief. Because if she let go of this dream, maybe she could start healing. In 2024, Laura made public statements about her situation that were raw and honest in a way that shocked her followers. She talked about the financial losses, the equipment failures, the emotional toll, the marriage breakdown, and most painfully, she talked about wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. If the price of this dream had been too high. if pursuing it had cost her more than it was worth. Her followers didn't know how to respond. They had invested emotionally in her success story. Now they were watching it potentially fall apart. Laura Wilson didn't lose the farm. That's the first thing to understand. She's still farming in Nebraska. She's still creating content. She's still building something. But everything is different now. The farm that was supposed to be her legacy is now something more complicated. It's still her livelihood, but it's no longer her dream. Not in the way it was before. The real tragedy wasn't a single moment. It was the accumulation of loss. Loss of health. Loss of her marriage. Loss of the belief that hard work and passion are enough to overcome anything. Loss of the fairy tale story that she thought she was living. Those losses are permanent. They don't go away just because the farm is still operating. What Laura Wilson's story reveals is something that social media doesn't show us. Success and happiness aren't the same thing. You can build something incredible and still be miserable. You can achieve your dreams and still lose everything that matters. You can inspire millions of people while you're falling apart internally. The people who followed her were inspired by a story. A young woman carrying on her father's legacy, working alone, building something from nothing, overcoming obstacles. But what they didn't see was the cost. The real cost. It wasn't just money and equipment. It was years of her life, her health, her relationships, her mental well-being. And the tragedy is that she sacrificed all of that because she thought she had to. Because she believed that stopping meant failure. There's another layer to this too. Social media created an impossible situation. The more successful Laura became, the more pressure she felt to keep performing. Her followers didn't realize they were part of the problem. They were watching her succeed and asking for more content, more updates, more of her story. And she felt obligated to give it to them. Because her content had become her income. Because stopping meant losing the financial support that kept the farm alive. In 2024, Laura started talking about finding balance. About taking breaks. About prioritizing her health. About accepting that the farm doesn't have to look a certain way. That it doesn't have to be perfect. That it can just be what it is. A job. A livelihood. Something she does, but not the totality of who she is. She's still creating content. But the tone has changed. The desperation is gone. The forced smiling has stopped. Instead, there's something more honest. More vulnerable. She talks about bad days. About equipment that breaks down. About the reality of farming without the Instagram filter. Some people lost interest when Laura stopped pretending everything was amazing. But others found her more relatable. More real. More human. She became less of a fantasy and more of a person. And maybe that's the real ending to this story. Not triumph over adversity. Not a happy resolution. But acceptance. Learning to live with the consequences of your choices. Learning to forgive yourself for sacrificing so much. The heartbreaking part is that Laura's story isn't unique. There are thousands of farmers carrying the same weight. Struggling with the same pressure. Sacrificing their health and relationships for land that might never fully sustain them. They just don't have millions of followers watching their pain unfold in real time. Laura Wilson's tragedy is that she tried to be perfect for an audience. She tried to make a fairy tale real. And in doing that, she nearly destroyed herself. The victory isn't that she saved the farm. The real victory would be if she can learn to save herself. If she can build a life that isn't entirely defined by farming. If she can have relationships and health and happiness alongside her work instead of sacrificing them for it. That's still happening. That journey is still unfolding. And maybe that's the most important part of this story. That it doesn't end neatly. That it's messy and complicated and ongoing. Just like real life.